I'm Master Saturn. Thank you for joining me for another BDSM United podcast. When beginning a power exchange dynamic in a new or even in an existing relationship, it's usually helpful to have a series of discussions in order to form a training contract. This is like not a long term permanent contract, but this is a series of agreements. And this is a contract that will last anywhere from 3 months up to maybe 12 months, depending on what level of training is required. And by training, we mean um, the dominant and the submissive partner both learning each other. And the contract will shape how you learn each other and how a dominant learns to lead a specific submissive, because everyone's personality, everyone's characteristics, everyone's past experiences, everyone's level of maturity is different. They're not always the same. And then on the dominant side, on the submissive side, it's learning how to please and what pleases a specific dominant. This isn't something that you can do online. This isn't something that you can do on behalf of someone else. Like there's no real such thing as a dominant who trains submissives and then releases them into the wild to go and be with some other dominant. That's mainly a vanilla terminology for somebody who is looking for free content. So if you see someone saying that they train submissives, they don't really probably know very much about BDSM, because BDSM and power exchange is a relationship, and a relationship consists of two people, and the two people will have very unique things about themselves, and you can't train for the unique tendencies of another dominant, or you can't train a submissive for that. So that's not really a real thing. That's somewhat maybe role play. I guess there's some things that you could probably learn, but you could probably learn all of those things in a book. You probably don't need a mentoring relationship to learn most of the initial things. So this is a time, this training contract is a time for the dominant to shape and mold the submissive, and a time also of building trust in the relationship. Now, consistency, as I've said it in the past, and I'll continue to say, consistency is going to be key during this time. So, all of the rules and the responsibilities should be kept minimal, as both the Dom and the sub are learning each other. So, something you would want in this contract is um, you would want to outline what soft limits, what things someone has experienced with others that haven't gone so well, or things that they're looking to explore, but they have no experience in, both on the dominant side and the submissive side. Just both kinky things and maybe even things that have to do with discipline. Otherwise, you would keep all rules and responsibilities to a minimum. All training contracts should include the following things: the starting date and the ending dates of the contract. And remember, we're using the word contract, but really it's just a series of discussions that lead in a agreement, a consensus. It's good to have it in writing, but it doesn't have to be, as long as both people understand when it begins, when it ends, what the specific responsibilities of both parties are, what safe words or what other signals for timeout or pause or adjust, whatever terminologies that the couple is deciding to use together. It's important to that both people are on the same page. Physical and psychological limitations of both persons. Many people come to a BDSM relationship with past traumas, and that's not just on the submissive side, also on the dominant side. So we can have different triggers and different, maybe even different disabilities, different things that we need modified. Perhaps somebody isn't able to kneel down, for instance, because of mobility, and so that would be a limitation that you would both agree upon, um, and you would both agree to make some accommodation for, and maybe even maybe it takes some type of physical therapy in order to remedy the situation. There may be something that someone can do. It's not necessarily that like at present they can't kneel, but maybe there's some way that they, if that's really a desired thing or a desired aspect of the relationship, there's something during this training time that during this training contract that someone can do to remedy something. A discussion of punishment, what forms it may take, when it'll be used, if it'll be used at all. As you're dealing with establishing trust in your relationship, it may not be a good time to institute any kinds of punishments, because you're going to keep the rules. So if you're going to keep the rules to a minimum, you should keep the punishments to a minimum, and oftentimes the rewards as well. Now you're going to want to know any specific rituals or formulas or titles that play a role in the fulfillment of the contract. You're going to want to know what circumstances under which the contract will become null and void. Backing it up there to the titles and things, maybe someone's sensitive to being called daddy, or maybe that's something that they want, and maybe that takes some time to develop, or it takes some time to develop the consistency for using a certain title, and maybe it takes some learning that of what is the appropriate place and time to use a title, and then what other things should be used in their place. The circumstances under which the contract would become null and void, similar to like when someone decides to break up, or just decides that something isn't working for them or isn't going to work for them. And so there needs to be some kind of exit strategy, and you need to talk about it going in. That we believe that this can work, but if it doesn't work, this is how you should communicate that to me. A lot of times people don't give themselves a clear exit, and so they then don't know how, or they don't feel safe sometimes to try to exit the relationship, and they stay a lot longer, uh, to the detriment of both people involved. The goal of the contract. Now, this may be as simple as the training of a submissive to our mutual satisfaction, or a list of skills to be acquired. It may also be more of a philosophical statement on the nature of being a submissive. Uh, it's just, what do we want to, a time for us to both build trust, to build a connection. It could be somewhat psychological. It could be that a person is coming from a background of of being a very controlling person in their life, and they're wanting to explore being more submissive, or they want to become a submissive, or some, maybe the person on the flip side is very passive in their life, and through this training period they want to learn to assert dominance, and to take a more leadership role in the relationship. And so it can be either. It doesn't always have to be leaning towards the submissive in a contract. A lot of times people will, a lot of printed resources emphasize the training of the submissive, but really there can be a time for that same time can be used for training the dominant. The most important part of negotiations and contracts is actually doing them. Let me repeat that. The most important part of all of this stuff is actually doing it. The discussions leading up to a training contract are good practice for the level of communication that'll be needed to write a formal or develop a more formal or permanent contract. Now, let me back up. One last thing here is that we're using terminology like negotiations and contracts, and really negotiations. To break it down, those words can cause a lot of anxiety for people. And so let's just break that, and that the word negotiations is just discussions. These are discussions, conversations. These are focused conversations, not just haphazard conversations, but focused, goal oriented conversations where you're looking to, uh, to come to an agreement. And that's what a contract is. It's just an agreement. It's coming to a consensus. It's coming to a compromise so that that both persons can be in agreement. Sometimes it is putting aside some of the things that you want, some of the things that you both want, or tabling them for a future time so that you can come to an agreement. And that's what negotiations and contracts are all about. I'm Master Saturn. You can find me on more of our not safe for work content at mastersaturn.com, or you can find all of our podcasts and more of the podcast material and some of the other links to us at bdsmunited.com. And it was a pleasure bringing this to you today, and I will talk with you again soon.